Welcome to the Private Practice Startup, where we inspire you from startup to mastery. We chat with entrepreneurs, experts in the mental health and business arenas, and successful private practitioners to give you the tools needed to make your dream practice a reality. Visit theprivatepracticestartup.com for awesome resources, free trainings, and so much more. Here are your hosts, Dr. Kate Campbell and Katie Lemieux.
Hey there, Startup Nation. Welcome back to another episode of the Private Practice Startup Podcast, episode 104. My goodness.
104. So exciting.
I'm one of your hosts, Katie Lemieux, hanging out with my business partner. I was going to say right-hand woman, but you're technically on my left, so you're my left-hand woman today.
You never know what side I'll be on.
And your name is?
Yes. Hey, everybody. It's nice to have you back. It's Kate Campbell.
So welcome. If you are joining us for the first time, awesome. You are our very important superhero because you're now a part of our Startup Nation superhero family. So we want to welcome you into the family, and we are rolling out the red carpet for you. And we actually have a special gift for you, and that is the A to Z cheat sheet, the essentials for building and growing your dream practice. Just head over to our website, privatepracticestartup.com. Look for the resources tab and go ahead and download your sheet. And if you've been in Startup Nation family for a while, we want to say welcome back. And we really hope you're going to enjoy today's topic with Cindy Nicholson. Turn your expertise into a profitable online course. So if you're just starting out a private practice, you might say, well, I'm not really sure if this is for me yet. But you know what? You've probably had the thought of saying like, hey, I'd love to somehow do something someday. So this is great information for you now, as well as for those people who are kind of in the mastery stage or looking for other ways to gain passive income or diversify. So this is going to be great for you. And the really cool thing is it's actually great for us too, because Kate and I are in the process, as you guys know, of really creating the marketing, not really creating, but creating the marketing e-course for you guys. So I know I'm not only going to be an interviewer today, but I am totally like listening as a Startup Nation superhero, getting some mad ninja tips. So welcome, Cindy. How are you?
I am great, Kate. Thanks so much. Good to be here.
Cindy is also known as the online course whisperer, which is so cool. I love that title.
And yeah, it was funny when somebody recommended that I choose the course whisperer as a title, and I was a bit sheepish at first, but it's grown on me, and I swear everybody makes a comment about the name, so it's totally worked for me.
It's catchy.
Do I hear a little Canadian in there? I heard.
Well, you might. It doesn't take too long for an American to recognize my Canadian accent. I live just outside of Toronto.
Very nice. And it's interesting because as we got on, and so for those of you who aren't really kind of online entrepreneurs or video people, so we get on and I'm like looking at Cindy and I'm like, your lighting is amazing. And I'm thinking like maybe she has this great natural lighting. No, she has this beautiful lighting that makes her illuminate. And so if you're watching this on video, you can like see the difference. So look at our picture and then look at Cindy's and see how lighting makes a difference. So as an online entrepreneur, when you are doing video, lighting is important. So I know we're probably not going to get into that today, but it's just a little side note.
It is definitely important. We will take the time to set those things up when we're doing certain videos, but for the podcast recordings, we've never really set up the lighting.
We haven't.
I'm in the process of moving the group practice to a new group practice location. I'm just ironing out the details with our lease and whatnot, and we're going to have an actual media room with all the lighting set up so we don't have to take it down and put it back up. So if you guys are watching our podcast episode in about 6 months, you'll probably notice a difference with our lighting.
Yay. So before we get started, last week, we interviewed ourselves. No, we didn't interview ourselves. Our podcast 103, was all about pulling back the curtain, private practice marketing that works. So for those of you who do know us, Kate and I are geeks for marketing. And as we had said, it's exciting having Cindy on here today talking about an online course. So we have been in the works really for a long time creating a marketing e-course for you guys. So in this podcast, we talk about how our story and how it came to be, some of the struggles therapists have with marketing, but we actually walk you through all the different modules of the e-course. So check that out. And then if you're ready to dive in or wanting to sign up and join us for the course or coaching or whatever it is that you fancy, our different types of models with that, we definitely welcome you to do that. So we look forward to connecting with you and helping you build your practice.
In the meantime, let's take a quick break to hear from our sponsor message for today's podcast, which is
Therapy notes. When it comes to keeping your practice organized, you want to have software that's not only simple, but definitely the best. We highly recommend Therapy Notes. We actually had Brad Pliner on our podcast for episode 54, almost 50 episodes ago. That's so crazy because it feels like just yesterday. It was so awesome having Brad on, and we really got an in-depth conversation into the importance of having an EHR, EMR, whatever you want to call it. And so if you want to really dive deep into that, definitely check out that episode 54 to hear more about Brad and what they do at Therapy Notes. And at Therapy Notes, their platform really lets you manage your notes, your claims, your scheduling, and more. And they also offer unlimited phone and email support, which is always a plus when you have a question. They're always there to help. So get 2 free months of Therapy Notes today. Just use the promo code Private Practice. PPS, as in Private Practice Startup, when you sign up for a free trial, and you'll be able to find that link on our show notes.
We're getting tongue-tied because it is our fourth recording of the day.
And I know we said this. If you're actually like binging on our podcast episodes, you'll hear that we mentioned in the last 3 episodes that we had kind of a crazy morning this morning. I woke up to my car being broken into and had to make a police report and spent a while with the police out front doing the handprints and fingerprints on the car. Not mine, but like the cars, you know. So
but it might be yours, depending on what comes back from the lab.
I hope it's I hope they catch them, but who knows whose it is. So so bear with us. We might get a little tongue-tied. It's all good, but we are super excited to be here and excited to have Cindy with us today. I loved our conversation when we connected a little while ago, Cindy, and I love what you offer. So tell us a little bit about what inspired you to be the Course Whisperer.
Well, it's interesting because I didn't start out doing what I'm doing. I kind of fell upon it by accident. I thought I was going to build a business in nutrition online. And so I was taking online courses to study how to build a nutrition business online. And as I was taking these courses, I was often working with people that were in the courses. And what I kept finding time and time again is people were coming to me for advice on how to articulate their message. So they were creating some sort of course or some sort of handout that they were looking for advice on. And I have a background in teaching and corporate training. So I've done tons of training and course design and everything like that. And I remember one time in particular, I was on the phone with another person taking the course, and I was helping her with her course on accounting. And I spent an hour with her helping her figure out how to design and organize her course. And I got off the phone and I was like, wow, that was fun. So I really enjoyed helping her out with it. And number 2, I was actually had a skill set here that I kind of didn't think I had or wasn't aware that I had until I encountered people that didn't have the skill set. So because I've had such an extensive background in education, I thought, is there a way that I can help these entrepreneurs who have such an important message to share, but kind of struggle with how to get it out there in a way that's compelling and engaging for any learners, that if I could help them get that message out there, it could be really a win-win scenario, because it's something I love to do and something that I think some entrepreneurs need help with.
I love the stories when people just kind of fall into their natural talents. I know that happened for me in doing couples therapy. So we have a very good relationship with our friends, Chris and Lori Cambis of National Marriage Seminars. And when Kate and I, and this is kind of actually how Kate and I realized we work really well together. We were the president and vice president of Broad Association for Marriage and Family Therapy. And we co-hosted a National Marriage Seminars training. And so I actually attended the training because, I was the vice president and needed to go. And I really loved couples, and then I took 9 different couples trainings in less than 2 years, and I'm just super passionate about it. So who would have ever thought?
I didn't realize that was how you fell in love with couples work.
That is. I learned
cool.
Something new about me after a decade.
I know. And I was right alongside you that whole process. I didn't realize that you weren't already working with couples.
I was, but I was making a mess because I didn't know what I was doing. And I realized I needed some training here. So, but very cool. So share with us. So I love your story about how you kind of got started. And I'm curious as to what types of courses you've helped people create.
Well, I've kind of run the gamut, because really what I do, I can work with anybody with any type of background. It's actually good that I have a variety, but I've worked with other health practitioners in terms of one of them I've worked with. He's a cardiologist, and he's building a course on how to apply functional medicine to, you know, healing various heart ailments. I also just finished working with another doctor who is an eye surgeon, but she's actually creating a program on how to bring intuitive healing into your practice. And so it's a bit of a stretch for her to go this area, but how do we help other people who have this intuitive sense bring it into their medical practice? I've also worked with real estate investors. I've worked with lawyers. I've worked with money managers. So I've worked with all sorts of different people, and they've usually been relatively established in their business, and they know that they want something more because, you know, just like your audience, they work one-on-one with clients. So there's only so far that you can take that. So then often people are looking, well, how can I scale more? And often an online course is appropriate for people. And so it's people who are then looking out and saying, how can I share my message beyond just, you know, the one-on-one clients that I have?
So for clinicians who are listening, who are in that place of realizing, okay, we're in a service industry, which means it's dollars for hours, you're trading your time for money, and there's only a certain amount of time in the day, and they really want to expand and diversify their specializations and have multiple streams of revenue. I mean, with the passive income term, it's not such passive, you know, there's a lot of work with it. But then on the flip side, once you wake up and, you know, there's money in your bank account and you made it while you're sleeping, it's a pretty cool thing. So where would you recommend that they actually start if they have the idea of, I want to take what I do and turn it into an online course? Yeah,
often I find entrepreneurs are feeling like they're either getting a lot of questions from their audience that they're having to repeat over and over again, or they're getting to the point where they need to scale. Otherwise, they're stuck in terms of dealing with the one-on-one. So really what I recommend in terms of if you're starting to feel like you need something else, if you're thinking, you know, you have an inkling that an online course is a good fit for your business, is to start with validating the idea. So there's a number of ways that you can validate your online course. If you already have an existing client base, I recommend going to them and asking them, you know, what is it that they're struggling with the most that you can help them with? And so once they kind of really get a validation, because one of the biggest fears as to when people creating online courses is they're worried it's not going to sell, right? You got to put all of this work and time and effort into creating it. Well, what if it doesn't sell? This first step of validating, like making sure it is a need of your audience, is such an important step. Not only to get confirmation that, yes, this is what they need, but you also gather really, really valuable intel as you're going through that process that it can almost help you write the course itself, because they're going to tell you exactly what they want to hear. So that's really the first step, is if you have an idea, go to your audience and find out if it is in fact something that is needed out there.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, doesn't that validate our validation process of what we've been going through the past year and a half?
It feels so good to feel validated, especially since we're doing it all the time. And it is cool. And, you know, as Kate and I have obviously spent a lot of time, energy, and money really learning about marketing and online courses and things like that. And it's like, when I call them the aha dumb moments, because it's like, it's so obvious. It's like, well, duh, why didn't I just ask? And, you know, we always talk about how therapists make the best marketers because we're always asking questions. We know how to empathize. We know how to validate. And so isn't it easy just to ask your audience? You know, yes. Like, duh.
Yeah, and you don't want to make any assumptions, because again, not only do you want people to buy your course, they want to go through your course, and you want them to have the transformation from taking your course. So it's so important to really understand your audience and what their needs are, so that you can address them in your course for sure.
So once you're clear on what your audience is actually needing, you've validated this, you've tested it, and what would the next step be?
What I recommend is really, now, once you've gathered all of that intel, is become super, super clear on an outcome for your course. So what is your course? What does tomorrow look like for your audience once they have gone through your course? What is it today, and what is it going to be tomorrow? And rather than just, you know, a course on family therapy, say, for example, what is it what is the result going to be? What is the outcome? So be super clear as to what that outcome is going to be. And this is a benefit both from your clients taking the course, because they've come to you and they've spent money because they want a result, right? They have some sort of pain point, and they bought this course because by the end they want that pain to be gone. So you want to be super clear what that outcome is so that they have that transformation. Plus, it's also helpful from a marketing standpoint. If they're going online searching for because they've got this pain point, once they see the name of your course and it's got the resolution to the pain that they have, then that helps them, pull out their wallets and pay for the course. So once you've gathered all of the intel, really hone in on what the particular outcome is going to be for your course. And I will say that less is more in terms of creating a course. Again, knowing your audience, you don't necessarily want a huge course that solves all world problems, because chances are your audience doesn't have all of those pain points. You want to really hone in on what the specific pain point is, because that's the client that's going to buy your course, take your course, and finish your course.
And interesting, as you talk about like asking your clients what they struggle with, your clients, the ones that you have worked with one-on-one or in group or something like that, have already had some of those results. And so again, you're really listening for what are the results, the common results that they have produced. So that's another little ninja tip as we talk about, and not in like making it simple. And I remember, Cindy, I love how you're like referencing like keeping things simple. I remember because as we've made our own progression through the private practice startup, like the copywriting for us, it used to be like long, bulky paragraphs, and I'm always looking at how can I chop this down? How can I chop this down and get to the point? And it is definitely a practice, but when things are simple, it's easily digestible. People want to take the next step, and it's just so important. One of the things that we talk about in our course is websites, right? And so we have our niece for the summer, and I was going online looking for swimming lessons, and obviously we look at websites differently now, right? So I go on and I'm looking for the schedule and the pricing, and I get to this scheduling place, and it has things blocked out, half crossed out, blue, B3, G red, blah blah blah, and I was like, oh, where's the pricing? Oh, never mind, and I clicked off. And I was like, oh my God, this is what people experience when, things aren't clear and simple, right? And so talking in those simple results, things that they'll get, the tangible, the feelings that they're going to get is so essential.
If you confuse, you lose.
If you confuse, you lose. Yeah, that's a Kate
there
Campbell original.
Yeah, it's a challenge for people when they're creating online courses too, because they want to shower their clients with all of the information that they know, because they feel that they're going to get more value, or that the clients will get more value if they give them everything that they know. And it's a constant back and forth with my clients, just trying to pull them back from giving them too much. You want to give them the minimum to get them to solve that pain point. And that is what the client is looking for. They're not looking for all of the 101 ways to solve the problem. They're looking for the quickest way to get there. And so it's a common struggle, and it's a common challenge for people who are writing courses for the first time, is they often offer too much information as opposed to just giving them the details. I always say, if you want to give like extra stuff, if you're like, but it'd be nice if they knew this, or it'd be nice if they knew this, then include it as a bonus. And then it could be something that they can, that helps them sell the course, but it doesn't distract from the main solution that you're trying to get for them.
People love bonuses. They love surprises. And that's a great way of delivering that extra content.
And again, so validating to us, because that's what we've been doing. So we're on the right track. Awesome.
So after we have validating your topic and then determining your outcome and the results that people are going to have, what do people focus on next?
Well, at this point, now that you know the destination that you're wanting to get the client to get to, you really then create their journey. What are the steps that they're going to get from today through to tomorrow? And really, so this is now creating the course outline. What are all of the different modules and the lessons within those modules? And at first, you will have no idea, because there's just so much information. You'll be like, oh, they need to know this, they need to know this. So what I recommend in terms of creating this course outline is to brainstorm first. So get everything out of your head. What do they need to know and be able to do in order to get this transformation or this result that you have from the course outcome. So brainstorm, get everything out, whether it's online or sticky notes or however you want to do it, just brainstorm, dump everything out. And as you're doing that, when you do that brainstorming session, you'll find that you'll end up with certain buckets that can be grouped together. And depending on the content that you want to cover, you'll end up with maybe 3, 4, 5 different buckets that these main topics will come out of this whole brainstorming session. So you kind of want to batch them together, and this will kind of be your beginning of your course outline. Those buckets can now become your modules, the journey that you're going to take to get them to their transformation. And then once you have those modules, you can create, those modules then become their own outcome in and of itself. So you want to get them to this final destination, but you want them to achieve mini milestones along the way, right? You want to have them little successes along the way. So those little buckets will have their own mini outcome associated with it. And then it's just a matter of what do they need to be able to do to get that outcome. So it's constantly focusing on what do they need to know and what do they need to be able to do when you're developing content, when you're developing this course outline. And it's really focused on the results.
It's just fun to listen to you talk because, like we said, we're right in the middle of all of this, right? And so our last little mini retreat, we were away for 2.5 days. And if you guys we should have done video of this aspect. If you guys could have seen us, and it took us the 2.5 days just to create the outline and get everything narrowed out. One of us would be working on the computer, the other one's pacing back and forth, thinking, and then we're laying down on the ground, looking at the ceiling, and then we're walking on the beach, and then taking a break for some wine, and then eating some junk food, and it's a very interesting process. And so it's just fun to hear you talk about it, and then just remembering our little journey. And we're going to dive now in our course, we're going to be diving into the content. So that's exciting.
Yes, this weekend we're actually going away for the e-retreat again. E-course retreat. So we'll be diving into the content creation, and we're really excited about that part because it was kind of hard to take a step back and focus on the name, the tagline, the marketing messages, and then the
wanted
outline.
to get into the information, and Kate kept saying, "No, let's stick to the outline."
That's good. That's good.
Yes.
And people don't spend enough time there, and you almost need to put it together and then give it some time and then come back to it. It's like building a house. You want to have the foundation super solid because then there's a lot less headaches down the road. Mm-hmm. So if you spend the time at the beginning making sure that's why the whole validation is important. If you spend the time at the upfront making sure that foundation is solid, there's going to be a lot fewer edits, there's going to be a lot fewer revisions, or a lot fewer people complaining about the course. So it's wise to spend the time doing that for sure.
So we have the validation, we have the outcome and the results, and then we have brainstorming the content, and then what's next?
Creating the course outline. And one of the things, and I don't see this as much when I'm taking other people's courses, is this course outline is a journey that you're taking your clients on. And what I recommend is once you have that outline, those steps that you're going to be taking your clients through, create a visual representation of that journey. And I don't know if that makes sense, but just what you want your learners your learners need to know where they are at in the process. It really helps ground them. It helps them have the peace of mind that they know where they are and what's going on in the course. So create some sort of visual representation of that journey. So if this is step 1, show them the journey that they'll go through in each of your modules so that they know exactly where they are until they get to the final destination. So, once you have that outline, create that visual representation of your journey. And this is your expertise turned in, you're productizing your expertise. So this is your system, this is your process, and you market as such, because anyone can make a course on XYZ, but they can't make it according to your process or who you are or based on your expertise. So this visual representation is your signature system or your process of how you achieve the pain point. So I recommend focusing on or spending some time creating that visual representation, because this is now the branding as part of your course.
And just to clarify, Cindy, is this the results that they're going to have at each module?
I would just, even the steps. So this is whatever.
Okay, so you're just talking about the steps. Okay.
Yeah. And so So again, they can see where that they're making their way through the course. They know exactly where they are before they learn a new step in the course. And it again provides a visual representation of your signature system.
So you're at module 3 out of 8 kind of a thing. It's like tracking their progress and being able to help them see how they're progressing in the course and then how to know where they are towards completion.
Yeah. Okay, adding that in. Thank you.
And again, I like to try and think of, the client experience as I'm creating my courses. So, your clients aren't necessarily sitting down and kind of going end to end for your courses. They may have had a week in between. They may have had people coming in and interrupting them. By giving them this visual representation in the course, it sets them to know where they're at, because they may be like, oh my gosh, I can't even remember where I am. So some of them may not even go back to the course because they feel they're so far behind. So constantly kind of, you're just kind of holding their hand as you go through the course so that they know exactly what's going on and what they're going to learn next.
Very cool. So what would you say is the most important thing that you want Startup Nation to take away from your message today, Cindy?
Well, I think that everyone has something they can teach. So it's a matter of now thinking about what it is your own signature system or process, and how can you share it with the world. And so everyone has their own skill set. They have their own expertise, their zone of genius. And it's just a matter of how do you take that zone of genius and put it into a signature system. And I think everybody has their own process, their own unique expertise that they can share with the world. And so whether it's an online course or other means to do it, I think that there's a lot of opportunity out there to share that.
Very cool. And obviously our audience, they're therapists already. And like I have said, and so many times, we've found that they have other really cool niches or talents and things like that. And so, I love to, like I said in the beginning, is really looking at this podcast from like two places, right? So if you are a therapist and you're not thinking about online yet, this is a great data gathering place for you, right? Like just start to get more in tune to what are your clients struggling with, what are the results that they're getting and things like that. But if you are in a different place where you are looking for different types of income or multiple streams, diversifying, really diving into this and knowing that you have a really cool expertise, and it might be therapy, or it might be something else, or it might be a combination of the two. So we really appreciate having you on the podcast today, and perfect timing for us, right, as we get ready for our second little podcast mini retreat. And what's really cool is that your podcast is right next to our next week's podcast, which is with Christy Westerfeld, who talks about legal documents you need for an online business. So, here Cindy is here talking about how to create and start an online business, online course, and then Christy's going to make sure that you protect your legal rights, especially if you're a therapist and you're doing something kind of like psycho ed. So if you're like doing, you're a relationship therapist, but now you want to do like a relationship coaching e-course. So really getting clear on the legal rights and risks and things like that, and making sure that you're protecting both. So you'll want to listen next week to that episode, and that is episode 105.
Cindy, it's been so awesome to hear your perspective about how to build an online course and really the step-by-step process of what people can do to really get started and delve into this, because it can be such an overwhelming process. And I know you have a really special giveaway for our audience for Startup Nation Superheroes. So what is that?
Well, thank you, Kate. There's a couple of resources if your audience is interested in getting a little bit more information. I have a creating your course outline tip sheet. So I went through the steps of how to do that pretty quickly, but if you want a tip sheet of step-by-step what to do, your audience can go to thecoursewhisperer.co/theprivatepracticestartup, and they can access that resource. And also on that same page is a mini course on how to validate your course idea. And so we talked about at the beginning about how important that was. And I've created a little mini course that walks your audience through how to actually validate. What steps do they go through in order to make sure that they're going to create a course that their clients will love. And that's, again, at the website, thecoursewhisperer.co/theprivatepracticestartup.
Awesome. And as therapists, we all know how important validation is, just as important in your online course creation. And if you guys are scrambling to write down that link, the URL, don't worry, we got you covered. Just head over to privatepracticestartup.com and look for our episode page, which was episode 104. And there you'll have the exact links to be able to take advantage of those opportunities.
So, Startup Nation, we wanted to thank you for joining us today, and we hope you guys have an awesome, inspired day. Don't forget to hang out with us on Facebook. And, if you haven't yet already and you really feel inspired to do, we would just kind of love to know your feedback on the podcast. And feel free to write a review in iTunes or a Google review or Facebook. We always love your love, and this continues to allow us to inspire you from startup to mastery because we are inspired by you. So have an amazing day. Cindy, thank you again for joining us. And everybody, take care.
See you next time, Startup Nation. Thanks for joining us on the Private Practice Startup. Visit theprivatepracticestartup.com for awesome resources, free trainings, attorney-approved private practice paperwork, and so much more.